Election cycle after election cycle, politicians blame greed, corporations, and markets for sky high costs of medicine and medical care. However, the true culprit is not the free market, it is not the invisible hand, but is instead the regulatory chain which binds it, functioning as a royal charter, creating state granted monopolies. The system isn't broken, it's going exactly as centrally planned. Scarcity, inflated cost, and dependence on a few medical leviathans are the logical conclusions of our current system's incentive structure. In the age of monarchs, there existed royal charters, which were used to grant limited rights, regulate trade, and raise armies. But what's relevant to our topic today is the ability to grant complete monopolies. Let's look at the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, where she granted a monopoly to search for, mine, and refine any natural ore found across England and Wales to the Society of Royal Mines by means of the Royal Charter of 1568. Contemporary records show that metal prices were 30 to 70% higher than comparable imports from continental Europe, with profit margins exceeding 100%, and many independent metalworkers claiming it stifled innovation. The Royal Charter system parallels our current intellectual property system and its regulatory bodies. Take the example of insulin, which in the US market is provided almost exclusively by three corporations: Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi. These three corporations make ridiculous profit margins. For instance, Novo Nordisk Humalog insulation had a medication price of $332 in 2019, with profit margins being over 1,000%. But how is this monopoly and its unnatural prices maintained? Through patent evergreening, a process in where patents are a product of a given extension after extension of exclusive intellectual property rights. Think of Mickey Mouse and how he never seems to enter the public domain. Now, this isn't a huge issue when it comes to cartoon characters. After all, being sued for your Pokemon fan game is annoying, but not at all impactful. However, being sued for trying to compete and produce a life-saving medicine at a reasonable price keeps medicine out of the hands of those who need it. Banning competition using the hammer of the state is not what our founding fathers envisioned. They not only warned about this in their writings, but actually made a mechanism in the Constitution to oppose this. It's Article 8, or Section 8, Article 8 of our Constitution, and it states very clearly that intellectual property is only legal insofar as it accompanies innovation. And since currently these patents are not being given out for innovation and instead to just protect exclusive rights, we need to use our Constitution to strike it down. Our founding fathers did not call this capitalism. This is state-mandated protections for certain corporations, and it is about as capitalist as Medicare. Speaking about Medicare, let's move on to Obama's great Medicare leap forward. Now, there are some issues and distortions in the market with each part of the American Care Act, but we will focus on Medicare Part D for this video in particular. Part D plans are, in the words of Medicare pages, offered by insurance companies and other private companies and approved by Medicare. So, publicly funded and privately operated. This creates counterproductive incentives. Insurance companies stop preferring low-price medicine to cut costs and compete with each other, and instead started to prefer high-priced medicine to increase rebates. Because the higher the price of the medicine is, the more money is paid both to the insurer and the producer by the government. In a real market where an individual consumer is responsible for the payment, they would never choose a company actively working with the producer to milk them dry. But because the consumer is the government and the taxpayer is alienated from the absolute robbery happening at their expense, the insurance company only has to justify this absurd price to 50 easily bought Congress members instead of millions of consumers. And so we end up with a government who spends more on healthcare per person than any other nation in the world, all while having the most unaffordable healthcare in the world. Again, these medical corporations only have to buy out a select few of our Congress members instead of having to pay out the entire nation for healthcare. So then why not universal healthcare? Why not just remove the insurance company, the middleman, and then the problem magically disappears? Well, no, I'm sorry, little socialist, but the market distortion is not caused by insurance companies, but instead by Medicare and medical monopolies themselves. The only difference would be whether you waited in the government office or the United Healthcare office. And the fact that the government has a less of incentive to cut cost, you just replace the small competition between private insurers with a government monopoly. We've seen how this plays out with the United Kingdom's NHS, who asks for more money each year despite waistlines constantly increasing. And Canada's healthcare system, who can't meet demand for medical treatment and has to send more and more of their own citizens here to the United States to meet demand. So is all lost? Is there no system capable of providing reasonably priced healthcare? Well, yes, there is, and it's called capitalism. Not monarchy-inspired government seals of approval, not throwing near infinite sums of taxpayer dollars at insurance companies, but real laissez-faire markets driven by incentive and not politics. What if I told you Novo Nordisk Humalog insulin, the same one that goes for over $300 today, cost just $21 in 1999 without insurance? Even adjusted for inflation, that's just over $40, assuming no innovation and no price reduction, which is extremely unlikely as prices tend to go down in unregulated markets. Let's look at a more modern example, thyroid medication. Because it's a mostly unregulated and unpatented market, a month's worth of medication can cost less than $20 without insurance. This is shown to happen time and time again with new and improving medications, and then the government comes in, regulates it under a pile of red tape, and then suddenly the $20 medication costs $300. 1,000% profit margins are not a symptom of capitalism, but instead the results of poor government action. There's a reason why the largest sponsors of medical regulation are the medical corporations themselves. It makes complete sense why regulatory bodies act as revolving doors between corporate higher-ups and government policymakers. The system is working exactly as intended. So what's the solution? The solution is to do the opposite of what the politicians say. It is to break the system, not fix it. Enforce Section 8, Article 8 of the Constitution, which states that intellectual property is only valid insofar as it promotes innovation. The opposite of what it's being used for today. Or better yet, abolish intellectual property altogether. Now, this might seem a little absurd, but I assure you, there is a great case for it. Cut back on regulation and red tape that makes entering the market far too expensive, smothering any new industry. And finally, end the unending subsidies of the medical industry. They don't cut costs for the average citizen, they just act as welfare for our largest corporations. If you want affordable healthcare, the solution isn't the 50,000th government policy that says, we'll fix it this time. It's free markets. Break the system, let competition drive production, and put power back in the hands of consumers. If you found this video to be insightful or useful, please do like and subscribe, and feel free to disagree with me in my comment section below. I welcome the discourse. Thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video.